The morning sun poured into Crestwood High, bright and cheerful, but it did little to warm the tense atmosphere inside room 214. Students whispered and snickered, waiting for the arrival of their new English teacher, Miss Hart, who was known for her strict discipline in her previous school. The rumor mill had already painted her as unapproachable, and a small group of senior bullies, Tyler, Brent, and Cassie, had decided they'd test her patience from the very first day. Miss Hart entered the classroom with a calm, measured step, her posture perfect, her gaze sweeping across the room like a hawk assessing its territory. She carried herself with an air of authority that was impossible to ignore, but the bullies mistook it for fear, and it sparked their cruel imagination. They smirked at one another, exchanging silent signals as if plotting an ambush. "Good morning, students," Miss Hart said, her voice firm yet gentle. She began taking attendance, calling each name with care, noting the slight quiver in a few nervous students' voices as they responded. The room was silent except for her crisp voice and the occasional cough. But as her gaze fell upon Tyler, who leaned lazily against his desk with a mischievous grin, she didn't see the hidden danger creeping closer. Before anyone could react, Tyler and Brent moved simultaneously. Cassie, standing by the window, lunged forward, grabbing the edge of Miss Hart's crisp white blouse. With a harsh tug, the fabric tore, ripping a loud, horrifying sound that echoed through the room. Gasps filled the air as students froze, unsure whether to intervene or watch. The white blouse now hung in shreds, exposing Miss Hart's inner vest and making her look vulnerable, human, and somehow furious. The bullies laughed, their cruelty echoing off the classroom walls. "What are you gonna do, Teach?" Tyler jeered, leaning closer, confident in his dominance. Brent added, "Yeah, you can't touch us. We run this school. The other students," shrank back, unsure where to look. The tension was palpable, like the air before a storm breaks. Miss Hart's eyes, usually warm, were now sharp, cold, and unyielding. She inhaled slowly, not a hint of panic crossing her features. The classroom felt like it had shrunk, the walls pressing in on everyone as a quiet storm built in her. Without a word, she reached into her bag, pulling out a neatly folded replacement blouse. But it wasn't just any blouse. It was part of a personal ritual she had followed for years, a symbol of calm, collected power that reminded her of her years in martial arts training, discipline, and mental fortitude. She replaced her torn blouse with precise movements, her every gesture radiating authority. Her calm presence unsettled the bullies, whose bravado began to crack just slightly under her unwavering gaze. She didn't raise her voice. She didn't threaten them verbally. Instead, her silence, combined with her steady stare, became a weapon far more powerful than any scream. Tyler leaned back, smirking nervously now. Brent shifted uncomfortably. Cassie avoided Miss Hart's eyes, sensing something she couldn't name but felt in her bones. The bell rang, signaling the start of the lesson, but Miss Hart did not move to teach immediately. Instead, she slowly walked to the front of the classroom, letting her calm yet firm presence dominate the room. "Since we're starting fresh today," she began, her voice soft but carrying a subtle weight, "I expect respect. This classroom is a place for learning, and no one has the right to make someone feel small or unsafe here." She paused, her gaze piercing each of the three bullies. "I know some of you think today is a joke, but let me assure you, actions have consequences, and sometimes those consequences are immediate." The bullies laughed nervously, attempting to shrug off the tension. They didn't see the small flicker of steel in Miss Hart's eyes, the quiet confidence that came from years of discipline and hidden strength. She had been in situations far more dangerous than a high school classroom, situations where lives were at stake and intimidation could mean death. The bullies had unknowingly stepped into a storm far stronger than they could anticipate. Miss Hart's lesson began, but not with grammar or literature. It was a lesson in observation, awareness, and respect. She asked each student to describe a time they had felt disrespected, making the bullies recount their own cruelty without realizing it. Tyler's voice faltered, Brent's confidence waned, and Cassie found herself uncomfortably silent. The class watched in awe as the bullies, usually so brazen, squirmed under the weight of Miss Hart's quiet authority. Minutes passed, and the lesson reached a crescendo. The bell signaling break came, and the students shuffled out, leaving the three bullies behind. Miss Hart stepped closer, her posture relaxed but radiating absolute control. "You three," she said softly, "you think you are untouchable, but respect is earned, not demanded. Today you have a choice: reflect, apologize, and learn, or face consequences far worse than embarrassment." The bullies laughed nervously again, attempting to mask their fear. But deep down, a seed of doubt had been planted. They didn't know how to handle it, but something inside them recognized the undeniable authority and hidden strength Miss Hart possessed. She had not raised her voice, she had not threatened, yet in minutes she had completely unseated their dominance. As the bullies left the classroom, whispers spread among the other students. "Did you see her?" one whispered. "She didn't even yell." And they were scared. Miss Hart returned to her desk, calmly beginning her lesson plan for the day.